Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here, and the time has come for the first Soul Imagineer Tribal Council, which is the name I've decided to give this show. Joining me is my my fellow co-host for what's hopefully to be most of these rounds, LittleGiants. Say hello.
What's up, everybody? How you doing?
Yeah, like the shades, like the shades.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm basking in the glory from our victory. You know, I'm just.
Oh my God, dude, we have so much to talk about in regards to the last project and how much you guys just curb stomped us. Oh my God, it was merciless.
I wasn't going to be the one to say it, but it was.
No, you absolutely just floored us. Like you killed us dead. It was not even close. Just not even close at all. Okay, so for those of you who might be watching, who might be subscribed to my channel, but don't know what WDW Magic is, WDW Magic is our new home. It is your one-stop shop for all your armchair Imagineering needs, and it is also the home to a bunch of different Imagineering contests that are going to be taking place throughout the year. And I hope to be your guys' own personal sports center about the whole thing. I hope to provide commentary, analysis, all kinds of feedback. Especially for games like this, there's definitely a strategic level of things to talk about. Lots of stuff. So RMichael's Soul Imagineer competition, it's a Survivor-based competition, which, yeah, I'm not even going to, like, you know, it might not be in my strategic best sense to reveal that I love Survivor, but I live and breathe Survivor. Like, most people follow sports, I follow Survivor. So obviously this is kind of fun for me. I'm getting really into it. But LittleGiants, how was your first round or two? What do you think of the game so far?
You know, so I will divulge a little bit about myself here. I don't live and breathe Survivor. I'm a Big Brother fanatic. So
well, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Very similar strategies actually. When you sort of get down to the nitty-gritty of it, and so
I actually think Big Brother might just be the more interesting game. I just think Survivor is by far the more well-produced show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well,
on a TV standpoint, because Big Brother has a lot of ridiculous things to it. I mean, it's like most all of their day one challenges involve phallic things to a certain extent. Like, oh, ride a giant hot dog or something like that. You know, there's very much an air of classlessness about Big Brother.
You're absolutely right. And I think the thing about Big Brother is, though, you know, what do you do with 17 people in a house? Right. I mean, with Survivor, you know, you can set up these elaborate sets. You can go around the island. There's plenty of space. You can go wherever you want. Yeah, you're isolated, but there's still places to go and get away from everybody else. With Big Brother, you're in a house, and you're all on top of each other. And I think from a production standpoint, these people are all on top of each other. So they sit around, they drink, and occasionally they'll talk a little strategy, play some pool, foosball, I mean, whatever they happen to have. But as a producer, what do you do with that? And I think that kind of
right,
especially whenever you're doing it for 3 hours a week instead of just an hour a week. If you could condense Big Brother down to a 1 hour a week show, I think the production quality would go up a lot.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Do you watch the live feeds? Are you a feed person?
I have been in the past. I wasn't this summer.
Okay. Oh my God, I couldn't imagine watching the feeds this summer. Oh God. The summer was awful.
I will say though, and probably my favorite player of all time was this summer, Derek. He was an absolute stud at the social side.
Are you just saying that because that's your name?
No, I'm not. But you know, I in my opinion, and I watch a lot of sports, so but he's the
Derek. I will say definitely played arguably the most quote unquote perfect game of Big Brother ever. I will say that much.
He quite literally orchestrated the elimination of 15 house guests. I mean,
And he was never once nominated,
no.
not once.
And
And yeah,
he didn't really win anything. I think he won HOH once and a couple
a
vetoes.
couple times. Yeah,
He
yeah.
was not a competition stud, but he played. I mean, honestly, he played the perfect social game. He was behind every single eviction the entire summer.
And because of that, it made for an incredibly boring and predictable season.
No, it definitely was. You knew who was going out. I think every vote for the first.
Oh God, yes. Oh God,
the
yes.
first
Oh my God. After
was,
Devin was gone, it was just over.
it
It was
was
like after Devin was gone, it was just like, okay, yeah, you know that Derek's gonna win.
it was 6-0, 5-0, 4-0, 7-0. There was
Mhm,
that many to nothing. And so, you know, if for someone like me who really enjoys like watching the politics of Big Brother, like that was fascinating. I loved watching.
I hear ya. I hear ya. It was just, yeah, yeah.
I will say this summer, and no one agrees with me on this. My mother absolutely disagrees with me on this. She thinks I'm crazy. But I am personally, I enjoyed this summer as much as I've enjoyed any summer, just because it was so perfectly played by
Just
one
because of the
person.
gameplay. I mean, yeah, I can see where you're coming from based on just it's a clinic of the game. It's
Mhm.
kind of like it's kind of like I don't know. I think maybe a fair comparison to Survivor. I'm not sure how much Survivor you've actually watched, but a fair comparison to Survivor would be maybe someone like Kim Spradlin from Survivor One World, where throughout the whole game she just had everything on lockdown. And
Mhm.
again, to me personally, those kinds of seasons definitely make for interesting. Like, wow, this person's really controlling the game,
Well,
but it's just not the best from it. But anyways, we should
well,
probably
my one point, and I think to make a
yeah,
sport
yeah.
analogy, I think it's like watching a no hitter in baseball. You know, you're watching somebody do something that is nearly impossible to do, and they go up and there's 27 guys that come to the plate, and there's 27 guys that are eliminated. So I think some people would rather watch a 7-6 game that ends on a walk-off home run. I'd rather
Mhm.
see a no hitter, but that's just
I,
me.
I, I hear you. I hear you, and it's definitely two different ways to look at Survivor and to look at Big Brother. Like it's interesting because there's a thread on Survivor Sucks right now, actually, that's kind of talking about the merits of people who played and controlled the game the entire way through versus people who had to kind of overcome a lot of adversity.
Mhm.
And I definitely think there's a lot of cases to be made for both, but we should probably talk about what we're actually here
Prob-
to talk about.
I don't think people are here to listen to us talk about Survivor and Big Brother.
I mean, we could probably do a whole podcast with ID Institute about that, but that's a whole other different
That's a
story.
whole nother animal.
All right. Anyway, so in spite of that, so can you answer the question that I addressed you in the first place? What do you think of playing Soul Imagineer so far? What are
I
your
think
overall
it's
thoughts?
great.
Yeah.
I absolutely love finally seeing a game on the forums that is political in nature, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
so our big, you guys obviously know this now, but our big competition has always been Sorcerer's Apprentice, and
Of course.
it is political in the slightest because the project manager does get to select two people to come with them to the boardroom, but at the end of the day, it still comes down to who the host thinks they should go home. There's no alliances, there's no wheeling and dealing, not to this degree at least, and
Exactly.
it's kind of boring, right? On that front, I think it's a great competition. I think it usually turns out the best or one of the best around, but
Mhm.
I for me, I never really competed, in part because I'm very busy in the summer, but also in part, because the competition didn't interest me on that level. Uh,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Well,
I
it's interesting because when I was first kind of putting together this whole idea, like, hey guys, we should do videos for the Armchair Imagineering competitions, and you approached me and you said specifically that you weren't a guy who played in the competitions, that that you were more just a humble observer. So
no,
I definitely very much assume that the social aspect is what got you to take the leap on this one.
yeah, no, I competed in one competition in my illustrious career in my 3.5 to 4 years on the forums, and That ended after 2 weeks because
Oh,
I was a freshman. I was my first semester in college. I didn't realize how much work things would be. This semester, I've got a lot lighter workload, so I'm not really worried about
mhm.
that. But that lasted 3 weeks. I kind of got bored. My schedule got cramped, and I kind of realized, you know what, something had to give. But yeah, no,
Gotcha.
it's definitely fair to say that the social aspect, the politics, that kind of got me into this one.
All right, cool, cool. So with that in mind, let's dive right into it. Let's get to the first reward challenge, which was to design a restaurant like a sweet shop, something like that.
Mhm.
I'm not doing justice to design some sort of eatery that served sweets in WDW. Now, see, you guys came up with the Journey into Imagination, which
One
is
one little sweet.
yeah, one little sweet, which is we were this close to using that. So I am very, very glad that we went with what we went with, even though at the end of the day we still lost the immunity challenge, so it didn't even really matter that
Mhm.
much. But
No,
no, like I said, what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, I was just I think it would have been interesting to see how we could come up with the same concept and see, okay, who ends up winning if we're doing the same thing. That would have been
Exactly.
that would
Right.
have
Right. Like right now for the project that we're currently in the middle of doing, I'd say it's safe to say like by far the most obvious thing to do would be Harry Potter.
been
Having said that, I think maybe perhaps both teams want to stay away from Harry Potter just because it's the obvious thing to do. So
exactly.
it's kind of interesting in that regard.
Well, and I feel okay revealing this. It's like RMichael said in our thread. It works very much along the lines of the way that he wants this to work legally, I guess speaking, is along the lines of how the Marvel deal works with Universal. If there's a similar property in the same city, you can't do that same property.
Mhm, mhm.
So I mean, that then would rule out Harry Potter basically out of
But we can't do Walt Disney World either.
no, we can't. We obviously can't do Walt Disney World, but it also would
Yeah,
toss Harry Potter out of Anaheim, and would toss it
true.
effectively out of Tokyo
Very true. Very true. Fair point. Fair
and
point.
and out of Shanghai. So
Oh god.
they're a
Oh god.
university in Shanghai as
Universal.
well.
Universal's started to get the monopoly on the theme parks these days. It really is kind of interesting how
Oh
that's
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
shifting.
When you actually stop and look at where all the Universal parks are, it's definitely a changing dynamic as far as how the theme park world works.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I've had this conversation before on other podcasts, but I definitely think the past like 5 years or so, Universal is definitely like up the ante on Disney in terms of delivering quality e-ticket worthy attractions with cutting edge technology. I definitely think they're kind of like Disney's kind of playing catch up at this point.
Mhm. No, well, it's one of those that you look at, especially if you go to Orlando, Universal Orlando, you can see a difference and a very distinct difference between the older rides and the newer rides. And in the pre 2000 rides in Universal,
Mhm.
Disney's probably got them. Post 2000, I don't think there's any comparison. It's
Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'd say the like probably like stateside, probably the only attraction that Disney's developed in the last since 2000 that has anything that Universal did beat is probably Everest, I'd argue,
Mhm,
just in terms of the scale of it all.
mhm. Well,
Uh, the foreign parks are kind of a different argument, but
no, I think the only other one that I can think of off the top of my head would maybe be Soarin' when it first
yeah.
when it first
I
sort of
really don't like Soren.
you don't like Soarin'?
No,
I,
no. Be a Joker's Wild have like a huge running joke on this channel about how much we don't like Soren.
I love Soarin', so we'll have this conversation sometime. But
Ooh, okay, okay.
I I think that it definitely needs a new film in Epcot. I don't know if it fits in Epcot in California. I think it fits well, but that's beside the point.
I just don't think the technology kind of holds up on repeat viewings, but that's my opinion.
I'll, I'll,
I
I'll
kind of I kind of think once you know how the technology works, it's kind of like, okay, we're just gonna go up and watch a movie and come back down. When you first go on it, it definitely has that wow factor to it, but I just don't think it holds up.
Well, but I will also say I was totally unimpressed with Forbidden Journey. Whenever I rode Forbidden Journey, I was completely
interesting.
No, I really. Well, I think the thing of it is that there is no. I'm not a Harry Potter person in the least. Know nothing about it, and I missed most of what was going on. I had no clue what was going on most of the time. One, and then two, I think the bigger problem is they try to tell this story of, come on, let's go hang out with Harry Potter. It's just the greatest hits of the movies.
Exactly. It did.
I don't know if that works. That didn't work for me. Whenever I haven't seen any of the movies, that to me doesn't work.
Right, I hear you.
And I know that my 45-year-old mother, who had her birthday yesterday, there are a lot of people like her who don't know anything about Harry Potter, and they enjoy thrill rides and they enjoy these sort of things, but this ride doesn't work for them. And so the technology is groundbreaking, the technology is great, but at the end of the day, are you really doing much different on Forbidden Journey? For much of Forbidden Journey, are you doing much different than what you do at Soarin'?
Interesting. I haven't been on it, so I can't really say. I do have a lot of criticisms just based on the ride video I've seen of Escape to Gringotts. And my big criticism there is just based on the video, it just seems like a lot of that attraction is just like, we're going to go up a little, and then we're going to stop, and we're going to watch a movie on a big projected screen, and then we're going to go a little further, and then we're going to watch another scene on a projected screen, and then we're going to go a little further and another scene on a projected screen.
Well, and that's kind of... Forbidden Journey is in some ways like that. You're on the bench and the dome, and you find yourself inside a dome 3 times, and the dome kind of travels with you as you move. And there are some live sets. There are some full live.
I feel like there's more live things going on just based on what I've seen in the videos than there are in Gringotts.
I'll grant you that. I haven't been on Gringotts, but I think from what I've seen of Gringotts, it's a lot more screens. But
right.
I get back to, people want to talk about the revolution, how revolutionary Forbidden Journey was, and yeah, the Kuka arms are cool. Right, but
sure.
I personally, I don't foresee that being the way that all rides go. Any time in the near future, I don't foresee there being too many rides that use that technology in the near future, because there's too many guests that can't ride that ride.
You mean based on the based on health restrictions? Can't ride Kuka arms?
Health restrictions, size.
Okay.
Kind of. A lot of it comes down to size, because those seats are small.
Right.
I am not a big guy. I am 6'1", 185, and I felt constricted.
Okay, I hear you.
I am not a big man, and I am sitting in a seat, and I am feeling like, this could stand to be a little bigger. I couldn't imagine someone who's 6 foot 230. It wouldn't be a fun ride, and 6 foot 230 really isn't that big.
That's pretty much how much I weigh, so yeah.
So that's more my point. But we should probably get back to the topic. Actually,
we should, yeah. Although you going off on these tangents really makes me happy, because it seems like you'd be a good guest on other podcasts, but that's a whole different thing.
Well, the thing of it is, I have no outlet to actually. So, ask most people on the boards. I'm kind of the business guy. Like I like to look at theme parks as a business, and how we make the most money. And part of that comes back to, well, I'm a business minor, so kind of just the way I think. But looking at, I mean, this is something I've always been interested in. I've written essays about the parks, and um,
Oh no.
this is great for me.
For sure, for sure. Okay,
All
so so what did you think of our pinstripe parlor concept?
I will, my honest estimation, I thought it was very similar to Casey's
Casey's
Corner.
Corner. Yeah, that's what
That
Joker
was
said. That's what Joker said.
my immediate reaction was, wow, it's Casey's Corner, just in a different place. I understand that it's not. I mean, it's obviously not. I get that, but man, it was very similar to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've not been to Casey's Corner, so I can't really comment on that personally, but I don't know. I just, it's kind of interesting because I just kind of like, in terms of the brainstorming, like we'll definitely get into how the brainstorming took a very, very wrong turn on my team for this last project, but it's interesting because in terms of the brainstorming for the reward challenge, I feel like it went really smoothly because we had like all these different concepts we were kind of playing around with. Like for the longest time, for at least a couple days, like it looked like the big thing we were going to go with was Blizzard Beach. But then Matt came in.
We threw that out there as well. So
that's funny. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, because you need to have like Blizzard Beach. You can theme it to a dessert and have the ice cream element to it, and also the summer. So it's kind of like a perfect combination.
Exactly.
But Matt was actually the one to bring up, hey, we should do like a ballpark theme. So I guess I'm vaguely aware of Casey's Corner. But it just did not go through my head at all. And I like the idea, and all the other people like the idea. So we just kind of went with it.
No, I mean, I think it's certainly I thought it was certainly a fine concept. I hated the ending whenever I saw a Red Sox guy standing there. The '07 World, I saw the '07 champs. I'm a big St. Louis Cardinals fan. Huge Cardinals fan. And, it brought back bad memories.
It's the only baseball related clothing accessory that I own. I apologize.
No, I just saw it brings back bad memories of 2004 and 2013.
So you didn't like my Boston Red Sox character? What are you saying? You don't like Bob the Bostonian? Boston Red Sox. All right.
God.
Crackerjacks. Gonna go down to the pristine Pinstripe Parlor, get myself some Crackerjacks.
Here's your throwback Survivor reference. Remember Boston Rob from season 2?
No, Boston Rob was season 4.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hey, don't. I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying. Whatever.
Season 4, season 8, season 20, season 21. No, season 22.
He was on The Amazing Race too. I know that. So.
Yeah, 2 seasons of The Amazing Race.
Yeah, I didn't know what the was.
And CBS also hosted their wedding, and he was also on a poker reality show. So yeah, big. But anyways, yeah. What about Boston Rob?
I don't know. We were talking about Boston, and made me think of that guy in Survivor, and I'm showcasing my.
I'm gonna get Philip. I'm gonna go get Philip. Philip's gonna be my final tribal council. Go. I need Philip. I need to hide the immunity idol clues right away. Hey, Sustanino, I'm gonna align with you, but then I'm gonna vote you out right away because I'm Boston Rob, and there can only be 2 Robs on this island. All right, I'm done. You see how my accents for Boston Rob and Bob the Bostonian are different?
I do. I know this. Yes.
Yes, Boston Rob has way more of a drawl. All right. Anyways, let's get to the immunity challenge, which was to design a new World Showcase e-ticket attraction.
Mm-hmm. No.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how frustrated with the amount of time we took to actually give you guys a project to work on?
I personally am. I'm a very laid back person, so I'll only give you a 6. I know that most of my was up in the 8s, 9s, and 10s.
Probably closer to 12, I'd imagine.
No, I mean, most of the cohort that I was with, they were pissed. I'll go ahead and throw that out there. They were not happy. So,
I mean,
no.
I think it kind of transitions into kind of my issue with our team's performance in general this past project was, God, we could just not get on the same page about anything. And it wasn't just this, like, it wasn't like, I want to make this perfectly clear in case there are any sort of conspiracy theories like, oh, they're not giving us a topic because they just want us to lose time. Like, no, that literally was not the case in the slightest. It was just everyone was throwing around ideas for the concept. I was literally pretty much the only one who just kind of chime in from time to time, like, hey guys, it might be a good idea to actually to actually get the other team their project, that might be good so they don't, like, hate us.
No, I mean,
and,
that was the thing. Like, I mean, I personally wasn't super worried. I figured, well, we'll get one when we get one. It's fine, whatever. But no, most of my comrades were more than displeased. But it worked out very well for us in the end. I think that.
Yeah, it did.
Well, I think the thing of it was we were originally thinking, maybe Germany, maybe Japan, and I think really it actually ended up being a benefit that we got put with France because so Jokers and Sam's Inner Francophile came out and they just took off. And just were like, hey, we can do this, and we can do that, and we can do this, and we can do the Revolution, and we can do Napoleon, and we can do all these architects and these these film people and all this stuff. And I'm just like, sounds great, guys.
Yeah.
What do I need to do?
Work really closely with Sam. Yeah. Excuse me. So in general, what's kind of like the work dynamic been like on your tribe?
Well, it's definitely been a little different between the first two challenges. I think with the immunity challenge, Jokers and Sam kind of took the reins on that one. With the reward challenge, Z sort of kind of took the lead. I've just kind of been sitting back and saying, all right, what do I need to type up?
Yeah, exactly.
Can't do a whole lot. Don't know how to do web design. Don't know how to do any of that. But I can write the pants off of most people.
Actually, I remember when I went back into the Soul Imagineer, and I remember I read like your guest critique, and you were very, very kind of prominently like about prose. That was like one of your big things.
Yeah.
Now I took 3 semesters of creative writing, so I am right there with you.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean that's the thing of it is I go to a very small college. I write a lot. I'm the editor of the sports section for the newspaper on campus. I write for our website. That's all I can do. That's the only thing I can do, but I can put words on paper. But I think that's the thing of it is we came up with a concept, and it's really been kind of a joint sort of a cohort, if you will. I really like the way that the team's working together and sort of keeping things on a good flow. We really haven't had anyone step up as the leader per se. Nobody's sort of taking any sort of captaincy, if you will.
Okay.
I think that's good at this point, right? Like, and just from a strategy standpoint, I think it's kind of good for everybody on their own strategy to
classic Survivor strategy. Never be the leader. That is like one of like the top bullet points of going on Survivor.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't be in charge, because when you're
unless you're Boston Rob and the whole cast just wants to worship you and the whole season's just designed around you, then it's no problem. Okay, I digress.
I mean, that's the thing, and I think that it's been good for us to have, kind of have the dynamic that we have, simply because, it's making working together pretty easy for all of us.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let me see. So, now I definitely think you guys got the advantage in terms of you were told what to do.
Mm-hmm,
because that is what killed us. That is what killed us.
Mm-hmm.
Is that we could not decide on a concept. And it's funny. Like I mentioned during the first reward challenge, we had a bunch of different concepts floating around. Matt brings up Pinstripe Parlor, and we run with it. It was so freaking easy, even though we had a bunch of different concepts. Once Pinstripe Parlor was brought up, we ran with it. With this, like, okay, we started and we were going to do Venice. Like, we were going to do the canals, kind of do a Pirates of the Caribbean type thing. And then Jose actually brought up the idea of doing Canada and doing a water ride, and I honestly could kind of go either way with it. I was honestly maybe personally leaning just a little bit more towards Venice myself, but I wanted our team to get on the same page. I saw that Jose, ID, and some other people were definitely working on Canada, so I was like, all right, cool, let's go with Canada, let's crack it out, let's make it as good as we can. Okay. Now here's what happened, and frankly, this is kind of I really don't want to offend you. I really don't want to like say this is anything personal, but this is probably the reason that JDM Disney got voted out. At least the reason why I cast my vote for him. Mm-hmm. He comes back in after we're already decided on Canada, pretty much already developing concepts for it. Mm-hmm. And he basically brings back up like, "Hey guys, you know, we should do Italy, we should do Venice." This leads us into another 2 days of deciding between Canada and Venice. That is what killed us. Those 2 days were absolutely critical. On Saturday, we were taking a vote on which project to do. Less than 24 hours before it was due. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. That's basically the moral of the story is go along with what the team wants to do, especially when it's, you know, when it's like when you've got a short due date, when the majority of the team already seems fixed on an idea. Even if it's not what you personally want to do, the best interest of the team is by far going with what they want to do.
No, you're absolutely right. I think the thing of it is, and you know, we've kind of seen this out of in different competitions before, but you see teams spin their wheels an awful lot and just be unable to really get traction on an idea and be able to move forward with it. And I think that was one thing that we, you know, we're sitting there on Thursday night, and Z and I are at a PM dividing up who's going to write what part of the
we literally did that Saturday night.
Yeah, no, I mean we're sitting there trying to figure out what part of the narration we're going to do. I mean, and I had mine. I mean, I had mine, half of mine done, half of my half done Saturday afternoon. Did the other half Sunday morning. Mm-hmm. I mean, so I mean, we knew what we were doing Thursday, and going forward and trucking through. And whenever you're really at a, I mean, and it's a self-imposed, but when you're at a 48-hour disadvantage, you can't win. I mean,
yeah, oh yeah, definitely. And you guys just won back that 48 hours because that is how much time we spent debating between Canada and Venice when JDM decided to float that idea back up.
Yeah, and that's what I'm referring to. I mean, you guys basically had, I mean, effectively 24 hours with which to work. We had 72. I mean, because we kind of had we had our idea pretty well in stone. We had the idea pretty well done by Wednesday night, and we were dividing up things Thursday afternoon. I mean, so we had 72 hours with which to try to knock things out. And you know, whenever you guys are at a 24-hour, you guys took out 24 hours worth, but you can't win on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean. And it's just funny. It kind of just goes to show you sort of the political nature of a game like this. Because honestly, I do think that maybe if individual votes weren't involved here, I think perhaps Infinite would be the one going home. Because I think in between the amount of actual physical posts that they made to the brainstorming process, I think that JDM and Infinite had a pretty equal number. Like, both of them are busy. JDM definitely had college, so that was a thing that was wearing him down. And that also definitely kind of factored into deciding to vote him out. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's just interesting because it's like, if he hadn't done that, if he hadn't floated Italy back up, he might very well still be in the game. Because that was the one political move that he did that not only cost him, it cost us the whole challenge. Because it cost us a good 48 hours of brainstorming. So,
well,
like I said, I mean, he was definitely up there with Infinite in terms of being the person that was contributing the least anyways. But I do think if the political nature wasn't involved at any rate, I definitely think that his action right there kind of affected him in sort of like a Survivor type way. You know what I mean?
Well, it just goes to show you, you make one false move in a game like this, you do one thing wrong, and it could be sayonara. You know, and it's,
yeah, exactly.
And it goes, and the thing that everybody needs to remember, and I think we need to remember this, both of us as well, these sort of mistakes, they don't just affect the team for one competition, they affect them for the next week as well, and the following week, because, I mean, now you guys are down a man to us. It's not just that.
Exactly. And this isn't Survivor where you just sit someone out. You can't do that.
No, it's not like he goes to the penalty box and comes back in 5 minutes.
Right.
He's gone, and you can't have his contribution. And for my money, he's one of the better guys on the forum. I mean, I will still hold, and he's kind of been in a bit of a slump here recently. Hasn't competed as much as he used to, but when JDM is on, JDM is tough to beat. And
I mean, I had him drafted. Me and Joker's Wild did our whole fantasy draft, and I think I picked him maybe 3rd overall, something like that. You know, out of my 7 picks that I had. So yeah, I was definitely high on his chances.
No, I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking most of us. I mean, before the competition, was he my pick to win it? No. And I mean, at this point, I don't know who's going to win because I don't know what's going to happen. I definitely did not think he'd be gone in the first round.
Definitely.
I think it'd be one of those that, you know, the team is looking at it saying, okay, we have to get rid of somebody. We know this guy has won 3 competitions around here. We don't know who this guy is. We're going to get rid of the guy that we don't know. But you got rid of the big dog, and that's kudos to you guys as well, because, you know, you get JDM into, if he gets past the merge, he's going to be a tough out for anybody, because very good individual competitor. He's very, very good when you can get him by himself.
Okay, interesting.
I mean, when he is on his own, and all the competitions he's won, he's been by himself. He's never won a team competition before. And so when you get him by himself, he's really, really hard to beat. I mean, and I think, well, he went out a little earlier than I anticipated him going out in the Elite Eight, but he ran into a buzzsaw in red.
Yeah.
In one of my write-ups for the competition, you know, I tried to make it known this girl doesn't lose. I mean, she's the real deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, she wasn't going to get beat. I mean, I don't care what England puts up. I don't care what happened. That final submission, she was going to win. I mean, it wasn't her best work. It didn't matter. She didn't need her best work for that one. I mean, that was a buzzsaw. You put JDM against pretty well any of the other 6 competitors, I think he wins. I think he gets to the finals. If he's on the other side of the bracket, I think he wins. But he was
interesting.
He got a bad draw in the second round.
Right.
I think that's what it came down to. I definitely did not think that he would go out this early in TSI. But
for sure.
That just tells me it's time to hey, it's like Big Brother, they say, expect the unexpected. At this point, I don't know what's going to happen. I might not be here next week. I don't know.
I mean, from a strategic point of view, you definitely made a good point in terms of, keep JDM around because he's more knowledgeable with the forums, but by the same token, he's more knowledgeable with the forums, which means he probably has more ties to people, probably has ties to the people on the other tribe. He's hosted competitions before. He hosts the big competition on this forum, the tentpole competition on this forum. He's got to have strategic ties with people, even not strategic, just social ties.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so with someone like Infinite, who just kind of came over from the So You Want to Be an Imagineer community, doesn't really know many people, I definitely think for our personal game as a tribe, it's maybe a little more valuable to keep someone who might be more loyal to us as a tribe versus someone who has potential connections that they could work with on the other end. So that's definitely one of the many things that kind of factored into my decision.
I think the thing of it is, and this is me, you know, kind of as an outsider looking in, but you have to ask yourself, is it more important to win the team side? You know, is it more important for me to get to the merge and see what happens, or do I think right now that I have a chance to win? You know, if I'm sitting there casting a vote, am I thinking, you know what, I need to win as many of these immunity challenges as a team as I can, because I don't think I can win it all. I don't think I can. I'm going to need help whenever I get to the merge.
It's really going to come down to just, you know, numbers post-merge. That's what it always comes down to, you know. And but it is interesting because it's like, and that's kind of like the beautiful thing about Survivor, too, is that you want to keep the strength for the challenges pre-merge. You want to win as many as possible. But by the same token, as it starts to get closer and closer to the merge, you start to worry about how those people might become threats to you in the individual perspective.
Exactly. No, I mean that's the thing is, you know, on like you said, on one hand, you've got to get to the merge, and the way that you get to the merge is your tribe wins immunity challenges. The better, I mean, and I don't know a thing about Infinite, and I need to actually look at your roster, again, because I haven't checked it in a long time.
We've got Infinite, we've got Jose Lorenzo, we've got
there's another one. I don't know. I don't know the first thing about Infinite. I don't know the first thing about Jose Lorenzo. Matt has been, Matt, I love you, but has been in a bit of a slump recently.
Okay.
IDI, solid. I mean, but I'm looking at it right now. I think on paper, going into the season, JDM is, in my opinion, one of the 3 best guys on your team. And so you've kind of got to weigh that against, he's one of the 3 best on the team.
And he also was one of the people that contributed the least in the first 2 projects. So you got to look at it that way too.
Exactly.
It doesn't really matter what his track record is. What matters is how available he is in this particular competition.
Exactly.
And right now, I mean, okay, Jose Lorenzo, he's an interesting case because he's definitely like a new-ish member to this community, like probably about as new as I am. And he really, I think during the reward challenge, I don't even know if he posted one time. So he was going to be an obvious first boot. The big difference was, come the second challenge, even though he was the one that brought up the losing concept of Canada, and RMichael kind of had some problems with his idea of the Daredevil stuff and stuff like that, he worked his ass off. He was easily the person on our tribe contributing the most ideas out of anyone in that last project. So there was no way in hell I was going to vote him out. No way.
No, I mean, so it's just one of those. And I think even from a strategic standpoint, you know, JD maybe wasn't doing as much as he needs to be. I don't know. I'm not in your tribe. I don't know what was being said. And in my opinion, you voted out a fish. You voted out a whale. I mean, you know, they talk about in gambling. They talk about whales. You know, the big ticket gamblers. And on the forums, we've got a few whales of our own. We've got guys and gals that are big ticket armchair Imagineers.
Sure.
You got one of them out early. And I think for all of your individual games, I think it's a good move. I think.
Okay, interesting.
And I think it helps all of us on the other tribe as well. It helps everybody's individual game when you get the problem is,
right.
I think going forward, I don't know whether it's going to help or hurt your tribe. I don't know whether it'll help you socially. I don't know whether it'll help you ideas-wise. I mean, practically. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out. It's going to be interesting for me to see.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a big move right out of the gate. I think probably the quote-unquote easy move maybe would have be to get rid of Infinite, because, like I said, he contributed about as much as JDM. I mean, you're probably right. In the grand scheme of things, Infinite is probably going to be a weaker player than JDM would end up being. But like I said, there's definitely other factors there. Like, Infinite is kind of an unknown, whereas JDM has ties, you know? So it's like...
No,
there were just several things that I was kind of weighing, but you know, what can I say? It's, you know, we got out kind of a big dog right off the bat, but he wasn't necessarily being like any sort of like major power player in our brainstorming threads at all. So
no.
So like I said, it really does come down to like, I mean, who knows? You know, maybe, you know, come the merge, he would have had more free time on his hands, and he would have contributed a lot more than he did on an individual basis, in which case it would have made absolutely no sense at all for us to keep him around.
No,
it wouldn't have helped us one bit.
I will still hold individually, and I think I've always felt like it's much easier to do a project like this as a team than it is individually. It's much easier because you can divide up the work, you can divide and conquer, you can get things done as a group, and then no one's killing themselves. However, individually, for some reason, JDM tends to succeed in those situations. He is better as an individual than he is as a teammate, and he gets to the merge. He's one of 7. He's got some friends on the board. I agree.
Yeah.
I think every point that you've made, it seems to me that it hits the nail on the head. No, I mean, but you know, now it's I am not in the business of making prognostications anymore. After this one, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm taking the hands off. I'm just watching.
All right, should be fun. So. Yeah, I mean, in terms of what my team came up with project-wise, it's interesting because you said divide the work, but I actually kind of think that maybe the ride-through itself would have been better if we didn't have so many people working on scenes from that thing. Because I feel like it felt really disconnected. I feel like certain scenes were really well written out. Other scenes were just like, oh, you go through the city of Quebec, and there's French people talking. Yay!
I know what you mean.
So it's kind of like I just feel like overall, all across the board on every element of our project, it could have just been more unified. But I don't know, you know, hopefully us losing, you know, will kind of give us the kick in the pants that we need. I mean, I can definitely tell you, without getting too much into it, I can definitely tell you that, my God, in the first hour or so that this next project's been up, like, we've been going to town on ideas and concepts. I mean, maybe that's just because there's a lot to explore with Warner Brothers, but it's, you know, I think overall, I think it's definitely better that we're throwing a lot of ideas at the table instead of just like, okay, let's spend 5 days trying to decide between Canada and Italy. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we're just throwing ideas on the board. One of them's going to stick, and we're going to run with that. And I hope that's how it plays out. So, all right, so I think we should probably wrap this up. We've been going on about an hour or so. So, any kind of last thoughts on these? Sort of, I know you said you don't have predictions, but any last words for us going forward?
Well, here's your. I'll ask this question. You've kind of done most of the question asking. I'll ask you this one. You have to sit here and pick right now. You can't pick yourself. Who wins?
I'd have to. Well, I mean, obviously, I don't know what's going down on your team, so I'm kind of at a disadvantage there.
No,
my winner pick for the cast assessment was England, so I guess I'll still go with that.
I think no, that's a fair pick. I think that's a very fair pick. I think it's. I think we will see a very similar final to what we saw in last season's Sorcerer's Apprentice. I think we're going to see Zweeland there. I think we're going to see England there. I think
Zweeland and England are maybe potentially kind of like the top dogs of both of the tribes. Like I think they are. If like I said, I don't know what's going on your tribe. I've just heard like nothing but amazing things about Zweeland as a player.
Yeah,
but
no, he is probably even more so than England. I think he is probably the best all-around competitor on the board.
Okay, interesting.
Didn't compete in the Elite Eight, needed some time off. Had he competed, I think that would have been a good one. It would have shaken things up a little bit as far as the seeding would have been concerned, but everybody would have actually dropped a seed. He was actually the 1 seed. JDM would have been the 2, and so on. And so.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, no, he actually had the most points over the year. He wanted some time off after winning SA. So I can't say anything but good things about him. I very fast, can write circles around most people. I love people who can write. Better at web design than most. Can do the graphics as well. Kind of, if you want to talk about 5-tool players in baseball, right? He can write, he can come up with, he can brainstorm, he can be a teammate, he can do artwork, and he can do web design. He can do sort of the 5 big things that you need to be able to do to win one of these competitions.
Fair enough. Okay.
It's gonna be hard, and yeah, he's my pick. I mean, I think that he's gonna be hard to beat. He's gonna be a tough out once he gets to the individual side.
Okay. So one last question, and this is just kind of for funsies. Did you happen to look into the fantasy draft that me and Joker did on the cast assessment?
I saw a little bit. Joker and I talked about it a little bit.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yeah, so just to remind people, Joker is obviously up a point now because I lost. The first person who was eliminated was on my team, but Tiki's Tyrants. We've got Aaron O., England, Joker's Wild, Sam, T Cool, and myself because I was egotistical enough to pick myself.
Oh, you got to pick yourself.
Oh, of course.
You always have to.
And then Joker's winners we have Zweeland, ID Institute, Vipra, Matt, yourself, Infinite, and Jose. Now, these are pretty much since you're going to be the co-host. Are you comfortable with that as your fantasy league team?
I'm a man up right now. I'll always bet on myself, so I'll take that. I'll take my chance.
Okay, fair enough. Well, you're already up a point, so I think you're in pretty good shape right now.
Hey, I think that it's if I'm looking at this as my team, we've got my pick, ID Institute. Viper's really come out, at least in my team. I kind of knew everybody besides him, with the exception.
Yeah, he was definitely someone that was kind of a bit of a question mark on the cast assessment.
Yeah, I mean he has done some stuff before, been fairly impressive when he was around before, but never really a stud, if you will. Has come out. He was the guy that actually did most of our artwork in the last.
Oh, okay.
Competition. He was the guy that did the map and did both maps actually. So I've been very impressed with the guy. I don't have anything bad to say about him. If you want a dark horse as far as somebody who could maybe go all the way, him. The one thing I will say, and this is, I'll try to say this without tipping too much of my own hand. He doesn't have. He doesn't really know as many people around here as some other people.
Right, yeah.
And I think on the social aspect, that's going to hurt him.
Okay.
Because it is as much about who you know as it is what you know, especially
for sure.
And he doesn't know as many people as some of the rest of us do. So I think I think the way that he combats that is he continues to produce like he does, but he's going to need some help. He's going to need his team to keep winning, and I think he's going to need to keep winning because from the looks of things, he's going to be another one. He's going to be a tough out if it gets to the merge. So we'll see what happens.
All right, cool. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so I think with that said, with everything on the table, I think this is a pretty good place to end. Very good time talking to you, sir. I think you had a terrific first podcast appearance. Look forward to many more in the future. And yeah, once again, guys, if you're not familiar with these competitions and you're subscribed to my channel, go to wdwmagic.com for all your armchair imagineering needs. And we will return. This is just the reward challenge, and then we're going to be, or I'm sorry, this is an immunity challenge. We're skipping reward this round. So we will return at some point once the results of that are over with, and come back next time with more from the Soul Imagineer Tribal Council. Until next time, JDM Disney, your tribe has spoken. Bye.